Turnbull here. Today I'd like to read a short excerpt from my book, The Man Who Conquered Mars. In this scene, Anna and Andy, two of the main characters of the book, make a startling discovery while exploring what they thought was an ordinary cave. Let me get started. Andy entered the airlock first. It was a tiny room in the approximate shape of a pressure-suited adult that, when occupied, held an insignificant amount of air that could be quickly evacuated to equal the pressure outside. Once equalized, Andy opened the outside door and stepped out and closed it behind him. The whole process took about 5 minutes. Anna followed, and within 10 minutes of Andy's entrance to the lock, they both stood at the rear of the rover. Both were experienced at operating on the surface of Mars and understood that safety lay in attention to detail. Staying alert, assuming no risks, taking nothing for granted, they moved with the careful confidence of alpine mountain climbers. There was no sign of the entrance to the cavern, at least not on the face of the ridge nearest them. After 30 minutes of searching over and around the spot where the entrance should be, they were about to give up when Anna noticed that the angle of the light had changed slightly and a rock was casting an oddly shaped shadow. On further investigation, she discovered that what appeared to be a solid wall actually curved in on itself, and when she went around the curve, she found the entrance to the cavern. Many of the caverns on Mars had been formed during one of Mars' several wet periods, the last one occurring about 1 billion years ago, and had been carved out in a fashion similar to the limestone caves on Earth. Rainwater mixed with carbonic acid, scrubbed from the carbon dioxide-rich atmosphere of Mars, had dissolved the minerals of chemically vulnerable seams of rock as it flowed through the subsurface, creating the caverns. At least that was the current theory. Because flow was an essential part of the process, there almost always was a downslope opening to a cavern, and Anna believed she had just found it. The moment she stepped into the shadow, her helmet light came on, and she pulled out her hand light, illuminating the entrance to the cavern. Anna felt it had an odd look to it, different from that of other caverns she had seen. The curve at the entrance itself seemed strange, and it was hard for her to imagine how the flow of water could have made such a structure. Nature in 1 billion years can change a lot of things, she thought. Andy, I found it, she said aloud. I'm about 20 meters above the base of the ridge and just to the left of the rover. On my way, Anna. Don't go anywhere without me. He climbed to the area she described but saw nothing. Hey, where are you? He asked. Right here, she said, as she stepped around the corner into his view. He moved to where she was standing, and they walked single file through the entrance of the cavern that opened to a larger space once they were inside. The walls of the cave were smooth, the floor flat and level. Their helmet cams recorded everything they saw as they advanced into the tunnel. The Mars red dust on the floor grew thinner as they moved into the mountain, but never disappeared entirely. Both of them were now feeling a familiar emotion, one that everyone seemed to share when exploring caverns on Mars. And it was an unspoken reason why the Mars colonists bridled at the suggestion that they be referred to as Martians. Anna had always had the feeling that she was intruding on someone's private space when she entered a cavern, as though the place had once belonged to someone else. The sensation persisted even though she knew there was absolutely no evidence that anything more complicated than cyanobacteria had ever existed on Mars. Anna's mother believed the sensation to be part of their racial memory and harkened back to a time when humans dwelled in caves, something akin to the instinctive fear of snakes that many feel even though they have no personal experience with reptiles. This one is creepier than any I've been in, Andy. What do you think? Jawohl to that, mein Capitan. Gives me the willies. The walls are different too. Look how smooth they are. and the floor is flat, like a floor. This place looks more like a mine tunnel than a cave, and that curved entrance doesn't look natural either. They had walked about 70 meters inside the tunnel when Anna, who was in the lead, stopped. She had caught a glimpse of something and needed a second look. "I'm going to turn out my helmet lamp. Shine your lights on the ceiling, Andy." "Sure, boss. What's up?" "I don't know. I saw something out of the corner of my eye, but when I shine the light on it directly, it disappears. Let me look with only your reflected light." If Anna had had any hair, it would have been standing on end when she realized what she was looking at. There were several sets of boot prints alongside their own leading back toward the entrance of the tunnel. The tread was of a different type than theirs, but there was no mistaking the similar length of the stride. Andy turned off his lights while Anna shone hers on the ceiling and confirmed what she'd seen. "I thought no one was supposed to have been here, Anna. There's no record that I know of any visit to Titov Ridge, ever, and certainly no record of anyone exploring a cavern here. These tracks are old, too. See how they disappear as you get nearer the entrance? The dust from outside has filtered in and covered them. I bet a guy could figure out just how old they are by measuring the thickness of the dust deposits. We better make sure we don't disturb them." They resumed their progress into the cavern, this time using indirect lighting to ensure that they didn't miss the footprints. 100 meters in, the tunnel ended, except for what appeared to be a large doorway. It had a generally triangular shape, but the corners and sides were rounded such that the overall form seemed strange and unnatural to them. Passing through it, they realized that the doorway was in fact a chamber with a doorway on either side, just like the airlocks used at the Mars settlements, but much larger. They guessed the dimensions of these doorways to be 2 by 3 meters, but the doors themselves were not in evidence. "I'll bet they're sliders and are inside the wall somehow," Andy said as he peered at the side of the inside door frame. Anna was already on the other side, shining her lights around what appeared to be a large, finished room. "Andy, quit fooling around that door and look at this place." She was standing near the center of a round room that she guessed to be at least 10 meters across, with a ceiling between 4 and 5 meters above the floor. There were 2 more doorways, these with closed doors spaced around the room. Anna's initial investigations revealed no apparent means of opening the doors. Unlike the tunnel walls, the room's walls were metallic and smooth. Spaced evenly between the doors were 3 platforms extending approximately a meter into the room, 2 meters in length, and positioned 1 1/2 meters above the floor. They too had the odd, rounded style of everything else in the room. "What's that?" Andy asked, pointing to a rectangular box resting on the platform nearest them. The box seemed incongruous because none of the structures in the room or the doors involved right angles or straight edges, and the angles they did have were all rounded so as to appear more like curves. They walked to the platform and examined the box. "Rhonda," Anna read. Anna read the white block letters stenciled on the top of the box aloud, and then the smaller letters on the side, "Property of Scott Aviation Incorporated." "Anna, this just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Who is Scott Aviation, and why are they leaving their stuff here? And furthermore, what is here? I mean, who in Mars built this place?" "I know it, Andy," she said, addressing his first statement. "As for the who, it looks to me like we have 2 separate who's. There are the people who built this place, and then there's whoever Scott Aviation is that visited here later. Let's make sure our cams scan the whole room in this box, and then we better get back. We've been out for over an hour and a half now, and it'll take a while to get back to the rover and back in. It's getting late in the day by now." "Okay, Anna, I guess we better not disturb anything. The experts will want to go over this place with a microscope, and we don't want them carping about our fingerprints." They scanned the room and then headed back through the double doorway. When they were about 20 meters down the tunnel, Anna spoke. "I don't think we need the cams and recorders anymore. With that, she signaled Andy to turn his off while she did the same. "Wait here, Andy, I'll be right back." When she returned, she was carrying the metal box in both hands. I know, don't even say it. I just have a feeling we should take this with us. Call it a woman's intuition." "Okay, Anna, since you're being a girl at the moment, let me carry the box, especially since we are taking it with us." Andy took the box from her, noticing that it was made of heavy gauge steel. "Wow, I'll bet this thing masses at 3 kilos empty. Whoever left it wasn't much concerned with weight." A steel utility container such as this simply did not exist on Mars. Because of the tremendous cost and energy to move a single kilo of mass from Earth, everything possible was made of lighter materials, such as aluminum, magnesium, carbon matrix, and titanium. Steel would only be used in such things as the combustion chambers of rocket engines, high-torque drive shaft springs, and other items that required great strength and durability. For Andy, the unusual construction of the box only deepened the mystery and heightened his curiosity about what was inside. When they arrived at the rover, Anna opened one of the storage bins on the side of the vehicle. "I remember once seeing a vid about a ship that archaeologists raised from the bottom of the sea on Earth, and when some of the items brought to the surface were exposed to the air, they began to disintegrate within a few hours. Whatever's in this box has been there for quite a while at Mars temperatures and pressures, and I'm thinking maybe we'd better ride outside till the experts get a look at it." "Whatever you say, boss," he said, assuming his best "I just work here and I'm not responsible for anything" tone. "But seriously, Anna, I think you're right, and I also agree that it seemed wrong to leave this thing lying around once we found it. I just hope that the powers that be agree with our sentiments. Otherwise, we'll both be working in the hydro farm for the rest of our days." And I think we'll stop right there. If you like this reading, don't forget to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Thank you.